Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Claire and for this video I'm going to be doing the mid-year book Freakout tag. So hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome back if you're new. I'm Claire from Claire's Creative Corner, and for this video I'm going to be doing the mid-year book Freakout tag. Now I've seen a lot of people doing this recently, and this tag basically talks you through some of your favourite books of the year, some of your disappointing reads, books that you're excited to get to. So there are a couple of questions and I've got them down here on my iPad next to me. So if I happen to look down just to double check what the question is, that's what I'll be doing. But yeah, I think overall my reading year's been going pretty well. There have been some really good books that I've really enjoyed, and there's been definitely some books that I haven't really enjoyed as much, but I've still enjoyed everything that I've read nonetheless. There's definitely some new favourites for me, some new favourite authors, and yeah, without further ado, let's just get into the questions for the mid-year book tag video. Okay guys, so the first question is, what is your favourite book you've read this year in 2023? Now, I had some really good books I've read so far this year, but I think the one book overall that I haven't stopped thinking about, and I'm still thinking about it, it was definitely a surprise to me how much I really enjoyed this, and it was How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. This is his newest release. Yeah, this book, I absolutely adored it, and I didn't think I would. If you haven't heard of this book before, it's basically about two siblings, Mark and Louise, and their parents have died in a car crash, and they have to go back home to their childhood home to sell their house. And they're a brother and sister that don't get on. Louise she can't stand her brother. He's definitely not a very nice person in the beginning of the book. He drinks a lot, he's in and out of a lot of jobs. She's got a child that's living with her ex-partner, and she has to obviously leave her daughter to go back home to sell their house. And when they get back to the house, it turns out that their mum had an obsession with making puppets and dolls that are in the house, and basically the house doesn't want to be sold, and there's a lot of creepy things that happens with the dolls and the puppets. It starts happening to Louise and Mark, and they have to obviously try and figure out what is going on, and the book is absolutely mental. But overall, if you want something that's really dark and spooky, there's a particular puppet in there. I also won't go into for spoilers, that really creeps me out. I would definitely reread it for sure, and maybe do the audiobook for it, and maybe next time round. But overall, it was definitely a new favourite for me, and I didn't expect it to be a favourite at all. But yeah, How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix is definitely my favourite book of 2023. Okay guys, so next up is, what is the best sequel that you have read in 2023? And I think for me, my favourite sequel that I've read is the second book in the Bridgerton series by Julia Quinn. I'll put a picture up here. It is The Viscount Who Loved Me. The Bridgerton series is a Regency romance, and it follows the siblings in the Bridgerton family, and it's basically love stories, and we follow each of the Bridgerton siblings meeting their potential partners and falling in love, and it's a good time. It is a really good time, and I absolutely adore the Netflix series. It's one of my favourite shows I've ever watched recently, and it's a really good time. But The Viscount Who Loved Me follows Anthony Bridgerton, who's the oldest sibling, and his story is he wants to basically find a wife that just basically is just there for childbearing, to produce an heir, because obviously he's the head of the family, and he's not really interested in marrying for love. He just wants to find a wife to just become his right hand person, and he's not really interested in falling in love. But he meets two sisters, Kate and Edwina, and he starts off basically trying to pursue Edwina, and her sister Kate just doesn't like him. She really doesn't like him. It's basically an enemies to lovers story, and yeah, it just goes from there. Something happens between them where they start to fall in love with each other, and it's a really, really good time. I love the relationship between Anthony and Kate, and the way that it's done in the TV show is just really good as well. It's definitely my favourite series, and well, season 2 is definitely my favourite series so far, and I can't wait for season 3 to come out. But yeah, The Viscount Who Loved Me has definitely been my favourite sequel that I've read so far this year. Okay, so next up is, what is your favourite reread that you've read so far this year? And I think definitely for me it's got to be A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. I was reading this for Barb from Barb's Bookland's Patreon, where we are still doing a read along for the series, and A Court of Mist and Fury is book 2 in the ACOTAR series, which is probably my favourite book I've ever read of all time. It's just so good. The characters, the romance, the story, it's just so good. It's like so much is just packed into this book, and it's a lot of stuff that goes down, and it's definitely my favourite book in the series, followed closely by A Court of Silver Flames, which is just, it's so good. But obviously I don't want to spoil too much of book 2 if you haven't read it, but we basically follow Feyre, who comes from a poor family. She lives with her sisters and her dad, and she's out hunting in the woods for food for her family, and she kills what she thinks is a wolf, but it's a Fey shapeshifter. And Tamlin, who's the Fey, comes to collect Feyre and tells her that because she's killed a Fey shapeshifter, she's offered to come and live with him in exchange for the life that she took. So she has to go and live with Tamlin in the Spring Court in Perithian, which is the Fey world, and she learns obviously about all the different Fey, the different courts, and there's romance, there's action, there's a lot of stuff going on. But book 2 takes it in a whole other direction, and it's so good. So I would please urge you to read the ACOTAR series. It's definitely a good one to get into fantasy romance with. It's honestly so good. So yeah, definitely A Court of Mist and Fury has definitely been my favourite reread so far this year. Okay guys, so next up is what genre have you been reading the most of and loving the most? I think for me, I've definitely still read a lot of fantasy this year. Fantasy is still my favourite genre, that I still will continue to read fantasy. But I think definitely for me this year, I've definitely branched into a lot more thrillers this year. I've definitely expanded a lot more into reading thrillers, and maybe dipping my toe into a little bit of horror. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I think manga, definitely for sure. I'm definitely branching a lot more into reading a lot more manga. There's definitely been some really good manga that I've read so far this year. But yeah, I think definitely thrillers. I've definitely read a lot of really, really good thrillers this year, and I've definitely been in a thriller mood recently. So yeah, definitely fantasy and thrillers. I definitely think I've really been enjoying them so far this year. Okay, so next up is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet but you really want to? And I think I've got 3 different books that I really want to get to this year. First up for me, definitely, and I'm hoping to get to it in August, is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shan Chakraborty. This is her newest release, which came out this year. It's set in the same world as the David Bad trilogy, which she wrote previously, which is one of my favourite all-time series. I absolutely love that. It's pirates, it's a female pirate. It gets the chance to go on a final job to help save a daughter of one of her friends that's been kidnapped, and she has to try and get her crew back and ship. And I think it's going to be a really, really good time. A lot of seafaring, and I really enjoy books that have got like pirates in them. I think definitely another release that I haven't read yet but I really want to is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I've just been seeing this everywhere. I definitely want to get to it this year. There's dragons. It's like a academy school with dragons. Main character is a disability. I think I've heard such really, really good things, and I've pre-ordered book 2 even though I haven't read book 1 yet. So what's new there? I think, what's another one that I want to get to? The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I definitely want to get to that one. Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of books that have come out this year that I really want to get to. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, so yeah, I think definitely those 3 books for sure, and I definitely want to get to this year. Okay guys, so next up is what books are you most anticipated for the second half of the year? And I think definitely for me, I mentioned Fourth Wing, the sequel to Fourth Wing, which is Iron Flame, which is coming out in November. So I've pre-ordered that one. So hopefully I really enjoy Fourth Wing, and I'm looking forward to that one. I think, what else? Heartstopper Volume 5 by Alice Oseman. I think it's coming out towards the end of the year. I absolutely adore that graphic novel series. If you've now haven't read it before, please go and pick it up. It's about Nick and Charlie, the meeting, and they're in the same form class at school, and it's just adorable relationship. There's a lot of topics in there, such as eating disorders, homosexuality coming out. Yeah, I think it's definitely one of my favourite graphic novel series I've ever read, and I can't wait for season 2 of the Netflix show, which is coming out in August. The new Percy Jackson book, I think, is coming out later on this year by Rick Riordan. I've pre-ordered the Waterstone Special Edition with the gorgeous sprayed edges, so I can't wait for that to come out. The new one from Travis Baldree, Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is the sequel to Legends and Lattes, which I really liked. The new one from Maria Kuzniar, Upon a Frosted Star, that's coming out, I think, in November, if I'm right about that. I'm pretty sure that's like a Swan Lake retelling, I think. But I really enjoyed Midnight in Everwood by M.A. Kuzniar. That was one of my favourite books a couple of years ago. Throne of the Fallen by Kerry Maniscalco. That's the author of the Kingdom of the Wicked series. That follows another character in that world. So yeah, I've definitely got a lot of books I'm really excited for the next. Okay, so next up is, what is your biggest disappointment of the year? And I think for me, one of my biggest disappointments was, I thought I was really going to enjoy this book, but it was Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I've read Malibu Rising and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I absolutely loved both of them. But yeah, Carrie Soto, if you haven't read it, we follow Carrie Soto, who's a tennis player, and she was like a big huge tennis star back in the day, and she ends up retiring, and there's a younger tennis player a few years later that breaks her record, and she decides to come out of retirement to regain her title back, and we basically follow her through that journey of trying to win back her title. I ended up giving it a 3-star. I mean, it was fine. I mean, if you are a big tennis fan, I think you would really enjoy it. There was a lot of obviously tennis references with all the different tournaments, the different names for things in tennis. But for me, I'm not a huge tennis fan, so I didn't really enjoy that aspect of it. I found the book maybe a little bit slow for me, and Carrie, the main character, I wasn't a huge fan of her, so yeah, I think that was a bit of a disappointment for me. I think another big disappointment for me was Icebreaker, which is a romance between ice skater and a hockey player. I think I ended up giving that 3 stars as well. I really didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the guys on the hockey team. I thought that some of the comments that they made about Remember were not very much to my taste at all. The main female character, I found her a little bit boring. Yeah, I don't think cutesy contemporary romance is for me anymore. So yeah, I think those 2 books were definitely big disappointments for me so far this year. Okay, so next up is, what was your biggest surprise of the year? And for me, I definitely think the biggest surprise of the year for me, for how much I loved this book, was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This is her newest book release, which came out this year. And now previously, I gave the Poppy War trilogy 5 stars, and I gave Babel 5 stars. I absolutely adored those books. So I was really anxious that I wasn't going to like this one, and I wasn't going to give it 5 stars, but thank goodness it got a 5 stars. I absolutely adored this book. It was so good. I think I've read it in probably one sitting. I literally couldn't put it down. So Yellowface follows the main character June, who's an author, and she's friends with another author called Athena Lou, who's definitely a lot more successful than what June is. June hasn't had a great run of success in terms of her books. Athena shares with her June her newest manuscript for a new book that she was working on, but at the start of the book something happens where Athena tragically dies, so June decides to steal Athena's manuscript and publish it as her own work. She makes edits to it and changes the author's name to another author called Juniper's Song, but June is a white woman and she's trying to pass herself off as an Asian author, and this book definitely takes a really good look at the publishing industry in terms of racism, white privilege, some of the choices that June makes in this book. It's like you can't believe what you're reading. It's just crazy, and it's definitely a book I think you could read in one sitting, and it's definitely a book that definitely gets you thinking about certain topics. But overall, I absolutely adored Yellowface, and I definitely would read it again and 100% recommend Yellowface for if you want something that's really quick and definitely gets you thinking. But yeah, Yellowface was definitely a big surprise for me this year. Okay, so next up, new favourite author, if they're debut or a new to you author. And I think definitely for me, my favourite author that I've read from this year has got to be Grady Hendrix. As I said, I mentioned House Hill Haunted House was one of my favourite books of the year, and I've went back and read some of his other books, and I've had such a really, really good time with them. I absolutely love his books, the way that he makes horror quite campy, because I'm a scaredy cat and I don't really read a lot of horror, but with his horror they're a lot of fun. They're definitely quite campy, so they're not as scary. I mean, some bits of them are a little bit scary, but yeah, overall I think there's such a good time. So yeah, House Hill Haunted House I absolutely loved. I went back and read the Final Girl Support Group, which I really enjoyed. My Best Friend's Exorcism, Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and I've gave all of them 5 stars. I think I still have, what other ones I think I've got left to read is Horror Store and We Sold Our Souls, so I definitely wanted to get to those. But yeah, Grady Hendrix is definitely a new favourite author for me. Trying to think if there's anyone else. T.J. Klune, I've loved his books recently. I'd read The House in Cerulean Sea a few years ago, and I really enjoyed that one, and since then I've read Under the Whispering Door, which I gave 5 stars, and his newest one, In the Lives of Puppets, I gave 5 stars, and that's definitely been my favourite book from him so far. It was just so good, and I definitely want to go back and read some of his back catalogue as well. So yeah, Grady Hendrix and T.J. Klune have definitely been new favourite authors for me, for sure. Okay, so next up is, who's been your favourite character that you've enjoyed so far this year? And for me, she's definitely stuck with me ever since I finished reading this book and finishing the series off, and it is Eve from Archer Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. I loved Eve so much. I think this is definitely my favourite in the series. It's from obviously the Brown Sisters series, and it's book 3. Eve, I think I was very, very similar to Eve. She's a musical theatre fan, I'm a musical theatre fan, so I think we definitely connected in that sense. But Eve follows, obviously, she's not had much luck in terms of getting jobs and sticking with them, and her parents have just basically had enough, and they've basically drawn a line, and she has to basically grow up and prove herself. And one day she is going for a job interview at a B&B place, where she meets Jacob, who runs the B&B, and he's definitely grumpy sunshine. He's very particular on how he runs the B&B, and something happens where Eve accidentally runs him over with her car, and she, without basically just she gets roped into working at the B&B while obviously Jacob's recovering. It's very grumpy sunshine, enemies to lovers, they don't get on at all. Jacob's very particular about how things are run, and Eve obviously just comes in and just tries to change things, and it's definitely a lot of fun. There's autism rep in here, which is really good, and yeah, this is definitely my favourite in the series, and I would definitely reread the Brown Sisters series for sure. I really liked Chloe Brown and Danny Brown, but yeah, I think definitely E. Brown was definitely my favourite in the series. Okay, so next up is a book that made you cry this year, and I think I normally don't get really emotional reading books, like actually tears and stuff like that, but I think definitely for me the one that made me probably the most emotional was The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Ashley Poston is a new author for me. I hadn't read anything from her before, but I absolutely love this book. It's a romance between our main character Florence Day, who's a ghostwriter for a well-known author, and she's basically fallen out with the idea of love, and she writes romance books, and she has got a new editor called Benji, and she's basically got writer's block, because obviously she doesn't believe in love and she's writing romance. She's got writer's block, and so she's asked Benji for an extension on her book deadline for I think it's the last book in this deal that she needs to write, but Benji doesn't give her an extension. Something happens where her dad has passed away and she has to go back home, and she basically goes home to help organise the funeral, and she turns up at the house and she doesn't expect to see Benji, her editor, there, but what's happened, Benji is actually a ghost. We don't know what's happened to him, how Benji's died, basically, and it's just Benji and Florence kind of come together and realise a lot of things about each other, and they're trying to help each other out, and it's just so lovely. It's such a good read. It's definitely a really quick romance read, and I'll definitely be reading more from Ashley Poston in the future for sure. And I've got the lovely Fairy Loot edition. It's just absolutely gorgeous with these sprayed edges. But yeah, The Dead Romantics, I would 100% recommend this one if you're wanting something. Content warnings for obviously death of a loved one and grief. If those are triggers for you, I would maybe stay clear of that one, but it's done so well that I think you would definitely really enjoy this book. But yeah, The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston definitely got me quite emotional for sure. Okay, so next up is a book that made you happy, and I think definitely this book and this whole series for me definitely makes me feel happy. It's such a really fun series, and I'm going to hold up the last book which I finished last month, and it is The Sinister Mystery of the Mesmerising Girl by Theodora Goss, which is part of the Athena Club series. The first book is A Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. I read that last year, absolutely adored it, and we basically follow these girls, monstrous women, and they're all daughters of men from literature. So you have Mary Jekyll, Diana Hyde, Justine Frankenstein, Beatrice Rappaccini, Catherine Moreau, Lucinda Van Helsing, and it's such a good time, and they're basically solving mysteries together, and Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson are in there as well, so there's a lot of obviously mentions to famous people in literature, and it's set in like Victorian England, and it's like the girls just all travel around together solving mysteries, and it's such a fun time, and it makes me feel obviously really happy reading it. But the way that Theodora Goss writes it is the girls, Catherine is actually writing the book, but the girls will chip in occasionally, saying if something's written down and they're like, I wouldn't have said it like that, I didn't do that, and it's just some of the funny little things that get chipped in. It's just such a really good time. Diana Hyde is probably my favourite character in the Athena Club. She's just absolutely hilarious, and she's quite mental, but in the best way. It's just such a really fun time. So yeah, and I finished off the series this year, which I'm quite sad about because I don't think there's any more coming out, but I would love it if Theodora Goss wrote more of this series. It's just such a fun time. So please pick the series up if you like historical kind of mystery, a bit of fantasy in there as well. The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter is book 1, European Travels to Monstrous Gentlewoman's book 2, and obviously this is book 3, and these covers are just absolutely stunning. So yeah, this book definitely made me happy for sure. Okay, so next up is what are some of the most beautiful books that you have bought so far this year? I've got 3 books to share with you that I think are the most beautiful books I own currently. The first book that I actually just finished this month, I gave 5 stars and I absolutely adored it, and I can't wait for the the sequel to come out for it, but it is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I just love the grey, the white, with the gold foiling, and just the little details of the foiling. It's just absolutely gorgeous. That's the spine, and that's the back. I just love all the little kind of gold foiling details on it. But it was the sprayed edges I am absolutely obsessed with the letters. I just think that that's so gorgeous. It also comes signed by Rebecca Ross, which I'll show you here. Try and do this one-handed. There we go. So that's really nice to have. It also comes with gorgeous end papers, which I'll share with you on here. So they look like this, and I love that Freakout have been doing the little gold foil and accents on the end papers recently, which is really, really pretty, and they're the same on the back as well. And the naked hardback looks like this, and I love the white and the gold foil. It just looks absolutely gorgeous, and it's the same on the back as well. So yeah, Divine Rivals, if you haven't read it, I would 100% recommend. So we follow the two main characters, Iris and Roman, and they are both journalists for a local paper, and they are rivals to lovers. They don't get on at all. Iris's brother is currently out fighting in the war, and she's been trying to send letters to him to obviously keep in touch with her brother, but it turns out that her letters haven't been going to her brother, they've been going to Roman, and he's been responding to those letters, and over the course of the book, the letters, they start to have developed feelings for each other. It's in a world where there's like a war brewing with the gods. There's like that kind of the mythology element there mixed with the historical kind of impact of war as well. And definitely I can't wait to pick up the second book whenever that comes out in this series. Yeah, Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. It's definitely a new favourite for me. I also wanted to mention that a book I've previously mentioned is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Chandra Chakraborty. I have the gorgeous Freakout edition with, again, the gold foiling, which I absolutely love. It fits this book so well. We've got the spine here, and then the back like that, and then the gorgeous stenciled edges, which are really, really cool. This is also signed by Shannon or S.A. Chakraborty as well, which is really nice, and it's got gorgeous end papers as well with the gold foiling that look a little bit like this. So yeah, absolutely stunning, and I love the gold foiling on the map. I think that really makes it a little bit different, and then different end papers on the back. I'm obsessed with this cat, it looks so cute. And then the naked hardback, even more foiling, looks like this. I mean, how stunning is this? It's just, I think Freakout knocks out the park every single time with their special editions. And then we've got the spine, and then the same design on the back. So yeah, I mean, Al-Sarafi is definitely one of my most gorgeous books that I've ever owned, but I think definitely my most treasured books I think I've bought this year has got to be... Now, if you are a Sarah J Maas fan, you've probably seen these everywhere. It is the Crescent City Freakout special editions. Like, how stunning are these books? They're just, I'm so obsessed with them, and I really, really hope that Freakout does a matching edition to go for the new book, which will be coming out next year. But I'll show you. This is the first one, which is House of Sky and Breath, and it comes in a gorgeous slip case, and it's got Sarah J Maas's signature on the back, which is really, really cool, and it's got this on the outside of the slip case. So I'll show you the book if we can get it out. And the book looks like this, with a gorgeous foiled cover, and that's the spine, and then that's on the back, Through Love All Is Possible, and then we've got the crescent kind of moon sprayed edges, which are absolutely stunning, and then it's got gorgeous end papers that look like this. which we've got Bryce and Danica on here. And then on the back end papers we have Hunt and Rune, I think is his name. Absolutely stunning. And then on the naked hardback we've got Bryce, who's the main character, on the foiled gold foil end. I mean, look at that. Is this not the most stunning book you've ever seen in your life? Like, seriously. And then on the back it's got Through Love All Is Possible again. So yeah, House of Earth and Blood is definitely one of my most... It's Sage and Mass's adult series, and the new book, which has just been announced, the cover, it looks absolutely stunning, so that'll be coming out in January. So that's House of Earth and Blood, and I'll show you House of Sky and Breath as well. So this is House of Sky and Breath, which is blue with gold foiling on it. That's the spine, and then that's the back, which has light up on the back, and it's got the same stenciled edges with the crescent moon, which I really like. It's also got gorgeous end papers. I'm definitely due reread of this for sure. So we've got Bryce and Hunt on these end papers, and then we've got these end papers on the back, which are absolutely gorgeous. And then we've got Hunt on this gold foil one as well, absolutely stunning. And then it's got light up on the back, which I think is definitely my favourite design on the back. So yeah, those are definitely the most beautiful books that I've bought so far this year, and I absolutely love them. Okay, so next up is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? There's definitely a lot of books I need to read by the end of the year, but I think definitely the two main priorities that I would like to finish off this year is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas. I'm currently at Empire of Storms. I haven't started it yet, so I would really much like to continue on with that and finish off that series, because that's the only Sarah J Maas series that I haven't read the full thing for, so I would like to also finish that. And I think definitely another priority series for me is to finish the Realm of the Elderling series by Robin Hobb. It's she writes them in different trilogies, so we start off with the Farseer trilogy, which follows Fitz, who is the bastard son of the king, and he gets taken in by the stable master, and he he ends up getting trained to be the king's assassin, and it just follows him from childhood up until adulthood in the different trilogies. So I've got that. I finished that off, so I need to move on to the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which follows different characters. So I definitely need to carry on with that so I can complete the Realm of the Elderling series by the end of the year. I think I've taken a little break from that because I had to reread the Farseer trilogy to continue on, so I haven't gone on to the next trilogy yet, so that's definitely a priority that I want to get to, but there's definitely quite a lot of books that I would like to get to before the end of the year, so we'll see what happens anyway. Okay guys, and we finally have reached the final question, which is, who are your favourite book community members? And oh my goodness, there's so many that I absolutely love watching their videos. To even name a few, I'll probably be here all day, but I'll mention a couple of people that I've really been enjoying recently. So obviously Barb from Barb's Bookland, I absolutely love her videos. She's just the loveliest human being, so I would definitely go and check her out. Demi from Reading with Demi, I've gotten to know pretty well over the past year, and she's just the loveliest human being as well. I love her like journal videos that she started doing. I've set up her journal spread, they're really nice to watch. Yeah, so those two are definitely new book besties for me in the book community. I absolutely love their videos. But also some of the booktubers that I absolutely adore is Steph from Steph Loves. I love her videos so much, and she's the loveliest human being as well. Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin, I've always loved his videos from middle grade, and obviously started doing a lot of manga videos, which has been great because I've definitely been getting into manga a lot more this year, so watching his videos has been really fun. Jodie from Vanilla Moon, I love her videos. They look absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I don't know how she does it, but I would love to be able to edit videos like that, and I'd love like how long our reading vlogs are just really nice to sit and chill watching. They're just so beautiful. JD from MJD rereads, I love her videos. Becca from Becca and the Books. Oh my goodness, there's so many people that I love. Yeah, I would be here all day. Kim from Uncommon Kim, I've recently started watching. I love her videos, and I know Kim from Steph's Patreon, and I love her videos as well. Yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, there's just so many people. So yeah, I'll leave everybody that I've mentioned in the box down below, so please go and check them out. But yeah, those are definitely some of my favourite people that I've been watching recently. Trying to think if there's anybody else. Yeah, just all the people that I love watching on BookTube, and the book community has been so welcoming to me. I've watched it for a long time, and I was always really scared to come on to BookTube and post anything, but yeah, I think the BookTube community is just definitely makes you really welcome, and I've definitely made a lot of bookish friends that I can sit and chat about books with, which is really lovely. So yeah, just to all the people that I watch on BookTube, I love your videos, I love your content, and hopefully I would love to be able to be up to the same standards as you guys. So yeah. Okay guys, so that is the mid-year book Freakout tag done. I think overall so far my reading this year has been really good. I've definitely had a lot of 5-star reads, which is great, and hopefully the rest of the year continues to be the same, and I would love to maybe look back on this next year and see if my tastes have changed, if I've got any new favourites from last year. So yeah, I would definitely like to do this again. So I don't know if I want to tag anybody, but if you watch this video, consider yourself tagged. Let me know what some of your favourite books have been so far this year. What have your disappointments been? What is the most beautiful book you've owned recently? What are some of your favourite booktubers? I'd love to get some booktuber recommendations for some new people to watch. So yeah, I hope you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you all in my next video.